Hi. Have you ever felt like something was just wrong with your brain? Like your mind worked differently than other people's? Like no matter how badly you wanted to change, your thoughts, behaviors kept pulling you back into the same destructive patterns over and over again? That's exactly how I felt for years. And after more than 24 years trapped in addiction and destructive behavior patterns, one realization completely changed the way I think about recovery. What I realized is that maybe recovery isn't about trying to stop being an addict. Maybe it's about shifting your energy away from avoidance and instead toward creating a life that genuinely feels meaningful enough that you no longer need to escape from it. And honestly, this is almost never talked about in traditional recovery modalities, despite producing profound results and being supported by actual science. So, if you can stay with me for about 10 minutes, I'm going to share a recovery secret that completely changed the trajectory of my own life and why it can do the same for you. Now, before we go any further, my name is Paolo Dorje. I spent nearly 25 years trapped in addiction and all the destruction and chaos that comes with it. But now, after more than 15 years in recovery, my perspective comes from both lived experience and years of professional work supporting individuals navigating substance use disorder and long-term recovery. And if you find these conversations helpful, please consider subscribing and joining the discussion in the comments. Your engagement really helps these ideas reach more people who may be struggling and looking for a different perspective. So, all right, let's jump into it. For years, my entire life revolved around avoidance, avoiding pain and discomfort, avoiding anxiety, chronic, unidentified physical and emotional discomfort, avoiding myself. Even after long periods of abstinence, I just couldn't shake the feeling that something was still not working. And what I realized is that even though I had removed the substance, I was still psychologically trapped in avoidance patterns, which ultimately did not lead to sustained happiness or contentment for me. For a long time, we've believed that recovery is mostly about stopping something, stopping substances, stopping behaviors, stopping self-destruction. And while those things obviously matter, eventually I realized that recovery isn't just about removing something destructive from your life. What if the real goal of recovery is not simply trying to stop being an addict, but instead shifting that same energy away from avoidance and toward creating a life that genuinely feels meaningful enough that you no longer need to escape from it, right? That realization changed everything for me. It's one of the reasons I became so interested in understanding what's actually happening in the brains of people struggling with addiction, including my own. I started researching neuroscience, behavioral conditioning, mindfulness, and how repetitive thoughts and behaviors shape our brains over time. Around that same period, I read a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And as I was reading it, something clicked. I realized that all the incessant focus on what I was trying to stop was in many ways producing the exact opposite of my intended outcome. The more I repeated, I'm an addict, I'm powerless, I'm flawed, I'm not this or I'm not that, don't relapse, stop being a failure, I'm so ashamed, and all of the things I was trying so hard to not be anymore, the more those patterns were actually being reinforced as a part of my identity. That was my reality. I was owning all of that shit and just kept getting more and more of it. It was a really miserable fucking existence. Look, this neuroscience explanation really helped explain something I had been wrestling with for years. Why did so much of the recovery conversation seem focused on reinforcing the very identity, behaviors, and patterns people were trying to escape? That realization became one of the foundational shifts behind the recovery modality that I teach, Middle Path Method, which was derived from my book, Middle Path Recovery Project. Moving away from incessantly reinforcing the old identity toward incessantly, intentionally creating a new, healthier one. Moving from avoidance to creation. Look, the science is clear. The brain is shaped and reinforced by what we repeatedly think about, focus on, emotionally identify with, and practice every day. So, what happens when a person spends years obsessively focused on avoiding failure, avoiding relapse, addiction, shame, the worst chapters of their life? They want to avoid it. Could we actually be reinforcing the very patterns we're trying to escape? That's exactly what's happening. And my entire life had become organized around avoidance. And now, as I work with individuals at various stages of recovery, I've noticed almost everyone is still organizing their lives around avoidance. Avoiding relapse, avoiding triggers, avoiding substances, avoiding failure. This is incredibly important. The secret is recovery is easier if we stop trying so hard to stop behaviors and instead begin shifting that energy towards what we intentionally want to create. Creation looks totally different from avoidance. Creation asks, what kind of person am I becoming? What gives my life meaning? What habits support my well being? What environments help me grow? What relationships bring health into my life? What practices help regulate my mind and nervous system? What kind of future am I intentionally building? That's a completely different mindset than simply trying not to fail. And ironically, the more I focused on creating self awareness, a new community, more structure, mindfulness, purpose, emotional intelligence, and overall wellness, the less power many of those destructive behaviors seemed to have over me. As my life became more meaningful, the desire to escape it gradually began to fade. So, by focusing incessantly on creating the new me, all the negative behaviors gradually stopped anyway, without even trying not to do it. So, before I leave, maybe the focus should no longer be on what we're trying to stop. Maybe it's time to shift that energy toward becoming the person we truly want to be, to get clear about the most ideal version of ourselves, and then begin investing our time, attention, and effort into creating that person, creating that life, creating that ideal future instead. This simple shift changed everything for me, and I invite you to begin experimenting with it for yourself. And stay tuned because in upcoming videos, we're going to explore many more concepts that help me let go of destructive patterns, better understand myself, improve my health and well being, and creating a more meaningful life rooted in self awareness, purpose, and lasting transformation. And if these conversations resonate with you, I'm happy to share that my new book, Middle Path Recovery Project, is now available for pre-sale orders and will be officially released on July 14th. And as a thank you for your support, every pre-sale order also includes the Middle Path Recovery Project's Recovery Wellness Plan. It's a structured self-assessment and planning tool designed to help you begin creating meaningful change right away. Just click the link to learn more and reserve your copy. And if you need direct support or more information on any of this, please reach out. I'm here to help.